here to help you with that. And if you like that, or that resonates with you, like and subscribe to this channel, because that's what we're all about. Hey guys, Jared the HOA Crusader here, and today we're going to be talking about what to do during contentious board meetings. So this is a big issue for a lot of people. One of the things that gets underestimated by people wanting to serve on the board is the fact that not everybody is going to like what you do or you as a person. The larger the community, and I've said my ratio before, but for every 50 people, you get at least one crazy. Not just that, even if people are not crazy, many times people have different personalities and they can be on opposite ends of the spectrum. You get some people who are very rule following and regulatory and litigious, and other people who are just kind of like free spirited. And in an HOA or a condo association, they're all stuck together. They're neighbors. They might be living across the hall from each other or right next to each other. And obviously their value systems don't align. How they live doesn't align. We could talk about what to do in those situations as far as like if you have a neighbor you're not getting along with. If we're gonna talk about that, we're gonna talk about that in a different video. Today we're gonna talk about what to do if you're on the board of directors or you're a property manager, or maybe you're the subject of antagonization by a bad board member. One of the situations I ran into yesterday was we were at a board of directors meeting, and there's a conflict. And the best way I'd describe it is a personality clash of an extreme variety between the board president and another unit owner. At the last couple in-person board meetings or unit owner meetings, one of the owners has kind of gone after the president verbally. And the most recent instance, I don't know that it was technically abusive, but it was certainly confrontational and certainly inflammatory. I did my best to coach this president through the encounter, because the reaction from the board president is to defend themselves against these allegations and to go back and forth in the middle of this board meeting that has, 15 other people watching. And my role was just to be like, just let it go. Don't say anything. Just say thank you and move on, right? But the problem is this person felt like they needed to defend themselves and they needed to contradict the accusations or implications being made. And that's a very natural reaction. That's something that we as humans, when we're getting attacked and we're stuck there, where, you're on the board, you're at the head table, everybody's watching you. Like, what do you do? And we get into this fight or flight response. And this particular board president went through all of the fight and flight responses in the same thing. The initial reaction was to fight back and be argumentative and contradict what this person was saying. And then, I said, just let it go. And then the next reaction was flight, which was, I'm going to leave. We need to shut this meeting down. I'm going to go because I don't deserve to be treated like this. And there is truth to that. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. Nobody necessarily deserves to be put on the spot the way they were put on the spot. That said, it's part of the job. At the end of the day, when you take on the responsibility of being on the board of directors or being a property manager or being on town council or a mayor or a governor or a president or any form of government, any position where you are responsible for others and accountable to a service, product, or people, you expose yourself to being the subject of ridicule, being the subject of criticism, I think is the best word. And we see this all the time in political campaigns and elections and all this stuff. I mean, it's common knowledge, but it feels very different when we're in that seat being criticized. And the problem with HOAs is that, politicians are trained, lawyers are trained early on in their careers and in school how to deal with negativity and criticism in a professional way. But in an HOA, you have average people stepping into these roles of responsibility and being accountable for to all their neighbors for millions of dollars of real estate, right? And what's being done with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of money. When the money is spent, they're accountable to how that money was spent, right? Their neighbors are gonna be, why did you spend it this way? How did you do this? And everybody has a different opinion on where the money should have gone or how it should have been spent, or whether the fence looks good or looks like trash, or the hallways look good or look like trash, or what the work was done. What's the opinion of that? These are all subjective things, decorative things. Everybody would do it differently. But now you're in a position where you've made this decision, and you might be an average person. This isn't your career, right? You're an average person. You made the best judgment call you could have made, and now you're being held accountable. And now people are saying, why did you do it this way? And you're saying, well, I did the best I could, or I did what the manager told me to do, or I did what the attorney told me to do, or whatever the case is. But a lot of times the average person who's joining the board isn't ready for, or isn't expecting the criticism that's going to come as a result of the decisions they made. And when you're in that position and you're in a room with a bunch of your peers, and one or two or three people are making accusations or allegations against you, and you're not emotionally prepared for that, it can be very destabilizing. We're gonna talk about how do you navigate those situations. And there's a really good video that I actually sent, kind of debriefed with the president this morning, and we had a good conversation. They felt a little bit slighted, myself or nobody really stood up for them and defended them in this situation. And I had to explain that arguing or defending in that situation is not the correct move. This is a strategic political game and is a strategic political play that has moving factors. And there's a high component of psychological understanding and how everything you say and everything you do has a psychological consequence to those viewing what's going on and the person who's interacting with you. So we have to be strategic, and we have to know exactly what to say, when to say it, and most importantly, when not to say anything. And in that situation, the correct move was to not say anything. The correct move is to say, thank you for your input, next. Or thank you, we're sorry you're unhappy of how this went. We'll try to do things better in the future. And thank you for sharing your opinion. And that's really hard to do when someone smokes you in front of everybody, right? They call you out and this and that, and you're incompetent and all this other stuff, for you to say, thank you. Thank you for sharing your opinion, and then move on to the next one. If you're an average person and you're not emotionally ready to deal with that thing, it's very hard to be appreciative and show gratitude to this person who's smoking you out. But that is the technically correct answer. And so I'm making this video to share with you the technically correct things to do in these situations, because I see it so much. I've been in very contentious board meetings where, by navigating it properly and kind of managing it, actively managing the personalities involved, we were able to keep a lid on a potentially volatile situation. And I've seen that same board, as soon as I was no longer the property manager and I was privy to kind of the last board meeting, it was a dumpster fire. It was hurling insults, accusations, you're an alcoholic, I'm not even gonna get into some of the other stuff that was said in this one, but just, and unit owners just appalled that this, that their association has devolved into this chaos. We see the videos, we see the social media stuff of these situations on boards where things are just blowing up. And the important thing is to remember that you have to manage and control the personalities. There's a group psychology going on in these meetings that you have to actively manage to get the best outcome and to make sure that things run smoothly. And if one person feels like they need to say their piece and call you a XYZ, and that you're incompetent and you stole money, whatever it is that they're accusing you of, you take it and you move on, because that's your job and that's what you signed up for. That's what we all signed up for. And then afterwards, we can go talk to our friends, we can cry in the bathroom, we can do whatever it is that we need to do. But in that moment, we're stoic. In that moment, we say, okay, no problem, thank you. And we do not show that what this person said is going to get to us. Because the second that we demonstrate that what this person is saying is getting to us, we lose. We lose control, we lose the upper hand, we lose the ability to dictate the situation. When you're on the board, when you're a property manager, you're in a position of responsibility. Everybody's looking to you to be a leader. And to be a leader means when you are in a position of leadership, it means me as a leader, my feelings don't matter. What I'm feeling inside has no consequence or should have no consequence on what comes out of my mouth or how I act. My feelings don't matter. I have a job to do, and that comes first. And so what happens is no matter what I'm feeling, I suppress it, I squash it, I push it down, I swallow it until the appropriate time when I can process those emotions. And that's what I'm expected to do. That's what I've been put in the role to do. Not everybody's prepared for that. So my job as a manager, and if you're someone who's been in a leadership role or a business role of some sort, is to coach those newer members who might not be aware. I had to, when debriefing with this person this morning, I had to explain, like, I've read books, I've listened to podcasts, I've consumed content to make myself a better leader. I've read books on leadership. I have studied what is the protocol, what are the things that I do to achieve the best outcome. There's a really good video that I shared with this person recently. And for those of you who watch the channel, you know I really like Alex Hormozy. He has a lot of really good content. So there's this video that he has produced about how to deal with the haters and what's the protocol of dealing with haters. And it's a really nice 20-minute step-by-step guide of what to do. And I shared that with the president this morning. We'll see how they feel about it. But I think, you know, I rewatched it after this conversation to make sure it was in fact as relevant as I thought it was. And it's amazing distillation of the appropriate protocols of what you want to do in these situations. But 99% of the time it's ignore. It's just take it. Don't let it get to you. Don't respond. Don't fight back. Just say okay. And what was really interesting is what he reminded me as, like, the other 1% of the time is to agree with them. Say, yes, I suck at this, or yes, you know, I'm new to this. I'm doing my best. And you know what else? You know, I'm also bad in XYZ way. And I love that he said that, because what you do when you reinforce or you say, yes, you're right, I'm not good at this, or I do have these deficiencies, or I do have these flaws, you admit to it, you own it, it removes the power from the other person, because now what do they have over you? And I get a lot of criticism from my wife, because one of the first things that people find out about me when they get to know me a little bit is that I'm in recovery, right? I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. I've been in recovery for many years. Even to put stuff like that on social media, on this platform, why do I do it? Why? People are like, why would you be so open about that piece of your past? And it's because it's one of the only pieces of my past that could potentially be used against me. And by owning it, by acknowledging it, by being, yes, I'm in recovery, I'm, you know, part of a 12-step program, and I've done well for a long time, it removes that power that people could potentially have over me. Because if I have this secret, if I have this thing that I don't want people to find out because it could make me look X, Y, and Z way. The only way to remove that power from other people is to acknowledge it and come out with it and say, yeah, these are my flaws. These are my character defects. This is how I've failed in the past. I was a terrible person. I was a leech to society. You know, I was a dope fiend, right? What else do you have to say about me? What's anybody gonna say? Or they're gonna say, oh yeah, he's, it's like, no, wow, he just came out and said that publicly. I don't know what else to say bad about him. And it removes the power from the other person. So taking accountability and acknowledging our mistakes and our shortcomings and saying, you know, maybe I did drop the ball on this. Maybe I did have this oversight, and, you know, maybe this wasn't the best allocation of money. I don't know. I did the best I could at the time, and I'm sorry, and I'll do better next time. That's a much better answer than to try to defend and justify the actions that we took. Because when we entrench our position, the other person entrenches in their position as well. And it just becomes a bigger battle, because now there's someone to fight against. And so the fight happens and it grows. But if you switch sides, if you go and stand right next to them and say, yeah, I'm a terrible person. I lost this money, or I did what you're accusing me of doing, or I failed in this way, and I'm gonna do better next time. If you acknowledge it and own it and move to that same perspective, or try to see it from their perspective, it removes all the fire and gusto and fuel from their position. It's just like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? They've acknowledged it. You're just gonna keep fighting with someone who's acknowledged their shortcomings? You're gonna keep just kicking them while they're down? Okay, you can do that. And now everybody else in the room is like, wow, this person's such a jerk. They acknowledge their mistake, and this person is just kicking them while they're down. So when we address these situations, it's not just from our perspective. It's not just how we're feeling inside. It's how does it look to the rest of the world? And ultimately, it's what achieves the best outcome. Because we're there for a job and a purpose. And that job and purpose is more important than our personal feelings. And maybe it's true that we don't deserve to be treated like that, but it's part of the deal. It's part of the job. It's what we sign up for. And we sign up for it and we deal with it and we put up with it because we're able to do more good in that position. And the higher up we go, the more responsibility we get, the more people are going to come after us. And so we can either choose to live a life of success and influence and meaning and make a difference and deal with all the crap that comes along with being in that position, like haters and detractors and antagonists and people who just hate you. Or we can live a life of mediocrity and meaninglessness, and we can see our association, our community burn down around us, and we're gonna be like, I'm just gonna watch it happen because I'm too afraid to put myself in a position where I could potentially be criticized. And we all get to make that decision for ourselves. I'm not telling you what decision to make. I'm just making this content for those of you who are gonna have the courage and who want to make a difference in your community. I make this content to motivate people to step up to the plate and to support those people who are willing to step up to the plate and make a difference and make positive changes. And if that's you, then I make this content for you. And you should subscribe to this. And also subscribe to Alex Hormozy because he's got amazing content. And I probably pull a lot of what I say from him just because I've learned so much over the years from him and a number of other people in business who I consider mentors. And so, when I speak to you, I frame it in the context of HOAs and community associations, but it's all just stuff that I've learned from other people who've done it before me, who are better than me, and who've done this in other applications, in other spheres and circles of influence. And I'm just learning the things that work and sharing that with you. And I'm in the boat with you, rowing in the same direction, getting yelled at, dealing with hate, dealing with crazy unit owners that despite my best efforts, hurl accusations and all this other stuff. And it's okay because I'm able to do a lot more good for the world in this position. I'm able to do a lot more good for my communities, my clients, and I'm able to just feel better about myself. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and everybody said their piece of how terrible I am, it's like, man, it could be worse, right? That's all they got. Now I know. Now I know all these accusations. And if I can just own those, if I can own them and improve them even, I realize I'm not that bad of a person. It's like, okay, that's all they got. That's all they can say about me. And now it's out there. Now I know. And now I don't have to be afraid of it. As Alex says, I'm egocentrical. I can be selfish. I can, all these things, all these, whatever negative things you want to throw at me, right? Okay. Well, now I know. Now I know what my weaknesses are. We all have them. And now I know what I can work on. And just understand that whether you're a politician or you're a CEO or you're a business owner or you're on the board of directors, you have weaknesses. You have faults, you have flaws, you have warts. We all do. And the best defense against those is just acknowledging them. Because once you own them, then there's nothing anybody else can have over you. That's all I got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you next time. Thanks again. This is Jared with HOA Crusades. We'll talk to you later.